years. And now it's making its way around as it continues to go ahead and make a splash, if you will, in other places around the country. So looking forward to that. We had a lot of fun. And the city, so everybody knows, because this was a question that was asked, this was a sponsored event. I'm thanking the sponsors because they covered the costs associated with not only the duck rental, but even a little extra, covered some of the staff time and whatnot, and really did make for adding to the fun over the year, over this year's holiday festival. So really excited about that. We've got some great news that's coming up. We're getting some help from above from our Congressman Calvert, who is chaired on the Appropriations Committee in our U.S. Congress, has been able to go ahead and have an $8 million appropriation to the city to be dedicated towards water improvements. And that is exciting. Now, it hasn't been fully approved yet, but I think that it's a testament to the commitment that our congressman has to this particular area. He's been very helpful in being able to go ahead and help direct kind of some money and some of that traffic in our direction. So want to say real quick, big thanks to him, $8 million. It's one of the biggest appropriations, and it's not controversial, so I kind of expect it to move through. I think it's going to be something that's extremely positive, because the improvement, the proposed structure that we're talking about is going to be an actual structure. It's going to have an educational component to it. So you're going to be able to go ahead and see what's actually happening there. It's not like some of the systems that we have that are floating on the lake or underwater. This is going to be something where you're going to be able to go in and see stuff. And we've got Adam here who's going to be able to talk about this more eloquently. And now would be probably a good time to thank you for joining us. Thanks for coming aboard and for all the work that you've done over the past year or so. Why don't you tell us just a little bit about the project that is kind of proposed for that potential appropriation? We don't want to get too excited, but just kind of give them a little taste of what we're thinking.
Thank you, Mayor Manos. We're just building on our success. So, earlier this year on February 6th, we launched our first nanobubble barge, and we're seeing great success with that first project. Last month, we shared an update with City Council. We actually are physically mapping the bottom of the lake, and in the short 5 months since the barge has been going, we're seeing physical changes with the lake. The nanobubbles are eating up the organic matter, and that's what I call that muck layer, and that's what we want to get rid of. It's preventing the internal loading of phosphorus in our lake, and that's what feeds the algae blooms. We've got to limit the phosphorus that we have in this lake, and this funding from the federal government will help us expand our nanobubble project. And like you mentioned, we have to build something with this funding. And so what a better thing than education. So what we're looking at doing is building an education center with the equipment. So the public will be able to come in, learn about the lake ecology, learn about our different systems, and then actually see the system working. They'll see the pipes, they'll see the equipment, they'll see the oxygen, they'll see what our work is actually doing.
Excellent. So other good news, if for people who love the lake and love to see us working on the lake and doing things that are going to improve that, in that same vein, the City Council recently approved the $3.5 million for 2 additional nanobubblers. Give us an idea of kind of the thought process behind that. Maybe some of the positive things. So one of the things that happened was as we put the nanobubbler in, we had some algicide treatments in the winter. People probably didn't even know that. And then we got the influx of water, and then the lake just went crystal clear, and it was really, really good. And so people saw the nanobubbler. Moliere did a phenomenal job in terms of marketing it, and word got out. And even though, internally we were like, whoa, okay, hold on, it's gonna, the summer's gonna come. Let's see how this works, because we really didn't know. You never know. You can guess, but you don't really know. And then, sure enough, a couple of months, into May, we suddenly started seeing a bloom pop up, right? And so the reaction from the public was, "Woe is me, money wasted, with snake oil." I saw a bunch of things, right?
Yes.
People had opinions, and then of course again we're like, "All right, everybody, calm down, give us a second, we can address this." And so then you had the algicide treatment, and so we brought back the algicide treatment. We changed the format of it, and we authorized more of a weekly process to go ahead and knock down the algicide. And that the algicide is kind of a short-term fix, I would say. It's not a long-term fix. It doesn't fix the overall problem, whereas the nanobubbler is showing signs of being more of a long-term fix. And at least from one perspective, there's still the phosphate and nitrate loading that we have to kind of figure out, and we're working on the phoslock to go ahead and deal with that. But talk about just what we're seeing with the nanobubbler now, and why we would go ahead and go with the 2 additional, and how the 2 additional are going to be different than what we have right now.
Okay. Yeah, I'll try to unpack that. It's
Yeah,
quite
sorry.
a bit there, but
Sorry. Yeah.
So the first nanobubble project that City Council approved last August was just a pilot. We knew from the beginning this wasn't going to fix the entire lake. This was the first step. This was the first large step in many years that the City Council has done for the lake. With this project, we really wanted to know what was going on. So we installed 5 monitoring stations around the barge. So in real time, we know the changes. And immediately, we started to see changes in dissolved oxygen. So increased oxygen at the bottom of the lake. Now, this is super important because this is how the lake helps to clean itself. We have an aeration system in the lake. Now, the aeration system that we have is just using compressed air, which is about 21% oxygen. Our system with the nanobubble, we're putting in 93% oxygen. So it is super saturating the bottom with the lake. And what that does is it prevents phosphorus from being released from the bottom of the lake. And that really caps the phosphorus. And like I said, the phosphorus is what the algae eats. So we put this first system in, and we can really see how it's working. The second, or phase 2 project, is 2 different barges. And these barges will look exactly the same, but what's underneath the hood is a little bit different. So this is a lot more oxygen. What we're seeing is the increased oxygen is making a big difference with the lake. Our first system, the single barge, we're putting about 500 pounds of oxygen in the lake per day. These 2 barges combined will put in 5,000 pounds of oxygen per day. So it's quite a bit larger in the oxygen than what we have right now. And like you said, come May, we started to see an algae bloom. And that tends to happen when the lake warms up. The length of algae blooms are unknown. They change. But we're pretty confident that with the nanobubble pilot that we have, it shortened the span that we had the algae bloom. In addition to that, like you said, a quick fix was the algicide. And that's what I say is kind of our defense. Right. The nanobubble is our offense, our long-term strategy. Algicide's our defense. Right. We put that in, and we strategically wanted July 4th to be amazing. We put that in, and it knocked everything out. The problem that we had was the testing results. Every single lake in the entire country was sending their water samples to this one lab in Florida. We didn't get the results. I was on the phone every hour with our aquatic biologist. We didn't get the results back till July 3rd at 5:40 p.m. And we tried to get that information out to the public.
I knew that because I was, calling our city manager and saying, "Hey, what's the update? What's the update? What's the update?" And then he had it like all of a sudden. And then we pushed that out as quickly as we could. And, unfortunately, not everybody's on Facebook. Not everybody's on social media. So the news kind of got out a little bit late. We'd gotten we got blindsided a little bit by the state releasing some negative information from the weeks before that. And so, we didn't get the positive news in time for we got it just in time for the holiday weekend. So folks are enjoying it now. I was just out at the lake today. It looks good. Looks like it's holding up pretty good. And I think this is going to be a pretty good season. That's good news.
We're definitely in a great spot. I was down there this morning. I go down daily and take water readings and visibility, and the visibility is holding at launch point. And I think we're in a good spot, and next council meeting we'll be coming back to council for authorization for an annual contract, and this will be our annual maintenance and algicide treatment. And once we get that going, I think every week we'll be out there with our contractor. They'll be doing shoreline maintenance and algicide treatments, and once that's going, I don't think we'll be in that danger category for the foreseeable future.
Right, right. So we might be able to go ahead and kind of knock that down and become a model for other places, which would be cool. One of the things that you've done several presentations, and if you guys aren't watching the city council meetings, it may be worth going ahead and noting, because every so often we'll have an update on things like police activity, fire activity, and the water is now becoming one of the regular things that we're looking at here, because we're investing in it actively. So we're trying to go ahead and track those results and show it to the public, and really honestly the council meetings is a place where to go ahead and get that done. One of the things you showed at one of the meetings, I think it was 2 meetings ago, about 30 days ago, maybe less than 30 days ago, was the hardness mapping. And this is where you guys are going out and we're literally paying attention to how hard the lake bed is under the water, right? So it kind of explain that process real quick, and then the progress. This is good stuff.
Yeah, no. So prior to the nanobubble being launched in February, we had a company come out in November of 23, and they actually mapped 200 acres around our potential nanobubble site.
Now, November is usually a really good time for the lake. It's not usually, we don't have a lot of algae blooms. This is kind of a good baseline, right?
Yep. And then we just had them come out again on June 21st, and they did the mapping.
Which is not a good time for the lake, usually.
No,
We're usually kind of having problems at least by May. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so you can really see in the 2 images, and we have them on our website, on our Lake Watch site, and you can see the differences. And you really, a lot of people months ago said the lake looks great. Oh, it's because all the rain we got. Mm-hmm. It's X, Y, Z. It's this. It's that. Nothing can change the bottom of the lake like the nanobubble is doing. Rain can't do that. Recycled water, the summertime, the springtime. This is physical proof that our nanobubble system is working. It is physically eating the muck layer, that organic material, that dead fish, the dead algae, everything that's at the bottom of the lake. And we're actually seeing that change.
And if that gets cleared, then we have less concerns about the fish that stir up the bottom, and you might actually create spaces where the fish can reproduce better, and that helps fishery, that helps a lot of different factors in the ecology of the lake. And I'm kind of projecting, but yeah,
no, 100%.
I keep hearing about it, so it's
100%. We want that sandy bottom.
Yes.
We want that rocky sandy bottom. It prevents the internal loading of phosphorus. It provides a good fish habitat. And I think the other great image that we shared to council, and we have it on our website, is the satellite imagery.
Yeah.
So we found, when you go to Google, you can see an image, but Google doesn't update. We found a website, and they provide 3 or 4 satellite images a month. And so you can actually go back in time and look at different satellite images. So I showed City Council an image from last year, and you can see the entire lake is green. I mean, it is pea soup green.
Yep.
And then I showed the same image about a year later, and it's drastically different.
And here's the great part. The great part is that we have a link to those images and the updated images as we go along, and when they become available. You go to our city website and go to the Lake Watch page. You will be able to go ahead and see that for yourself. So if you're interested and you just want to go ahead and see, I wonder how bad the lake is right now, you can check it out. We've got a live image coming from space. Not a live image, excuse me. We get a picture every couple of weeks. You can go ahead and check it out and see. So it's a lot of fun. Again, I think the effort is transparency. It's an effort in it. It's a real effort to go ahead and kind of address the lake in a way that we haven't done in the past. And so, and there's lots of different layers to that, and I think we're going to continue working hard on it. But if for anybody who doesn't know, Adam's pretty much the lead on this. You've been doing a lot of the research and the background stuff, and talking to the different agencies and the partners, and I'm kind of probably half your life right now.
It's a good part, but we have a good team. So we have a lake management group. that meets twice a month. Jason Simpson, our city manager, heads it. We have members of Public Works and Community Services at those meetings as well. And, we talk about just about every topic. And we also reach out to our regional partners. So our local EVMWD Water District, we work with them. We meet monthly with them as well. So we're not doing this alone, but we are taking the first step, and it's been a bold step for this lake.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you. And would you stay aboard and maybe answer more questions?
Sure.
We get questions every month here. We take them live, and we take them straight from the folks that join us on social media. We got a couple of folks online right now who've asked questions. Nancy asks, is there an update on the sale of the golf course? Nothing new to report. There's been a rumor that it's gone into escrow. They're probably undergoing a due diligence period where they analyze some of the impacts to the golf course and whether or not some of these things can be improved again. As we know, the golf course went underwater when we received a lot of the rains. And for anybody who didn't know, the golf course is essentially the borrow site for a lot of the fill dirt that was utilized to raise the Summerlee homes out of the floodplain, so that those homes would be on a solid foundation and not have to worry about inundation in future years. The golf course is working exactly the way that it should, believe it or not. When the waters rise in the lake, it pushes the water up below the ground, and it pushes it up. There's some pumps that help alleviate that, but the pumps were not managed well. That was the responsibility of the golf course operator and then the developer at the time, and they were supposed to go ahead and pass along those responsibilities. And I think those types of things get overlooked, especially when we're in drought years and the water levels are low. So they're working through that right now, and I know that that's basically been the update. We don't know the identity of the buyer yet. It's rumored to be a golf pro. I've also heard rumors that they may modify the golf course, but it's just a lot of rumor trading. They do not have to go through the city to enter into escrow. They do eventually have to talk to the city so that we approve the new ownership. So at some point they will approach us, but they have not yet. So that's that on that. Could you move the mic closer to Steve? Yes, I can do that. Thank you, Graham. Let's see here. Are you live now? I don't know who that is, but yes, we are. Let's see here. Is there an update on? Oh no, we just did that one. Thank you for adding more trash and recycling bins at Elm Grove Beach. Aletha, you're welcome. I had nothing to do with it, honestly, but I'll make sure to pass along your thanks to staff. Any updates on improving our local school ratings? I have no updates on that, and my understanding is I think they stopped doing that to a certain degree. I think the last time they did updates for that was a number of years ago. I think there's different standards that are being applied, but that's kind of outside of the city scope of city services. It's not just kind of, it is. This is something that you might want to go ahead and ask a local school board or go to a school board meeting and ask them about those updates. But I haven't seen anything about that. My real job is in real estate. We do pay attention to those ratings, but I haven't seen them move or get updated for quite a while. I did see that some of the testing scores for some of our local high schools were starting to compete with Temecula, but I don't have that information offhand. But great question. Let's see here. Ed says, please get a stop sign by the new Dollar General on Grand. It is impossible to exit our streets. Okay. So Grand Avenue is mostly in the county, but I know where the Dollar General is. I think that's our area. We can pass that along to engineering and see if that's something that's possible. But for the most part, when you have a major arterial like Grand, you certainly want to make sure that traffic continues to flow. Stop sign probably isn't a great idea there, but maybe a light. I'm not sure. We would have to go ahead and take a look at it. Ed Michelle, that is not under the city. Yeah, I didn't think it was, but it's hard for me to look it up right now live. What else we got here, guys? That's it for now, man. We don't have a lot of questions today. We've been answering all your questions here lately. Okay, that's okay. There's lots more that's been happening. I would say Friday did a ribbon cutting for a brand new business right here locally. We got the Princess Hair Salon on Graham Avenue down near our Old Town, historic Old Town Main Street. They just opened up, and there's been a lot of work done on the inside of the building. And if you haven't been down, you should definitely check that out. Princess is actually the owner of the shop. She's working there probably every day. She had her family down there, and it was actually a fun event. Lots of fun actually. We also have had a pretty hot last couple of days, and I would say the last few weeks have been kind of up there. And I think it's important to remind residents, especially our seniors, that when the temperatures rise above 100 degrees, we open our cooling centers. So we've got a couple of different cooling centers in the city, but if you're a senior, there's the senior center, obviously. And then we have the community center that you can also go ahead and visit, and that's air conditioned. We want to make sure that people are taking care of themselves and whatnot. Usually some of the deaths that occur within the city, especially amongst our elderly, a lot of that has to do with the heat, and some of that has to do with falls, and sometimes that has to do with food insecurity, believe it or not. So it's very important that our seniors especially get taken care of. So let's see here. We got Jasmine and Joseph that write, any local hospitals in the work, all nearby cities have one, i.e. Temecula, Marietta, Menifee, etc. There's some discussions right now. I don't have specifics in terms of a location or whatnot. I have some information, but nothing solid. There is at least one hospital that's kind of poking around in the area. And this is kind of the interesting thing. Great story that I'd like to share. Once upon a time, the Promenade Mall in Temecula was not going to be in Temecula. It was actually going to be in Marietta. It was going to be in Marietta in a little area that they call the Golden Triangle. And the city of Marietta heard, because they started talking about it, that this group was going to go ahead and build a mall. And the city of Temecula's economic development group went ahead and talked to them and offered them a better deal. And that's how the promenade ended up in Temecula. And that can happen to hospitals. That can happen to businesses. And so if I seem a little cagey about some of these opportunities that might be coming in the area, the reason is I don't want some other city to come in and offer a better deal. We're going to go ahead and set up and make the best deals we possibly can so that it benefits our residents. So all I can say is that, we're talking to somebody, I think, and I don't have a lot of information, and or maybe I do, and I'm just not sharing it. And I'm doing that on purpose. But thank you for the question. We are working on that currently right now. Aletha says, what will come of the poll that was done for input on what businesses we'd like to see come to Lake Elsinore? That poll is being utilized, I will say weaponized essentially, by our economic development director to go ahead and allure and attract businesses. And what we do is we bring sometimes people don't look at Lake Elsinore. Maybe they've looked at Lake Elsinore in the past, and because we're one of the fastest growing cities in the region, they don't know what our current statistics are. Most cities have stopped growing in California. Some of them are even in decline, but we happen to be in an area that's growing very quickly. And so there's new opportunities, both in terms of income, as far as building opportunities, and in terms of the amount of money that people here are making. And if you think about it, all the new homes that get built and people go ahead and buy, those guys are going like $600,000 or $700,000 per home. You got to be making some pretty good money to be able to afford those places. So we build out somewhere between 150 and 300 homes per year in the last few years on average. So that is largely what is changing the median household incomes in the area, and that certainly changes the demographics for the area so that places like Trader Joe's and other places suddenly become interested. But sometimes they don't look. Sometimes they're looking for the lowest hanging fruit, right? Um, the survey that we did, which indicates not only what people are buying here locally, but what they're buying outside of the city, as well as what they're buying online, uh, gives a really good perspective to those who might have not taken a look at the city, and it's kind of gives a kind of this third party sort of outlook in terms of, hey, look. Furniture store probably do pretty good here. Got a lot of new homes that are building here. Guess what? They're not building in Temecula. So, maybe we should go ahead and get something out here. Maybe you guys would do well. One of the reasons why I liked releasing that to the public is one of the greatest strengths that we have here in the city of Lake Elsinore is our mom and pop shops. The people that are here, that open here, that build out here. I'm talking about like Princess Hair Salon or Ringside or the grocery outlet, believe it or not, is locally owned. You start looking at all the people that are working on businesses here that are doing it here, Mishi's Tacos, and I can go on and on. I want to see those people successful before I see some corporation come in. You know what I mean? This is, why give that information? Why are we begging for a Trader Joe's? Well, we could have a group of, maybe 5 or 6 residents, families get together and pull their money together and have them open a great, grocer who opens up in Menifee like Mishi's did, or decides to go, maybe this is their origin story, because they had a great opportunity here to go ahead and sell, women's clothing, in some way, shape, or form. There's just a lot of that's available here right now. I'd like to see our residents take advantage of it first, but we can also go ahead and fill in some of the holes that are in people's wants and desires amongst the public, and we can do that, definitely. Diego writes, what happened to the State of the City event you used to have every year? It's going to happen. This one's going to be in October, mid-October. We'll be doing it at the Pins and Pockets. So it's going to be returning back to the Pins and Pockets. The theme is putting the lake back into Lake Elsinore, as we've been doing throughout the year. It's been kind of the ongoing mantra here. We're trying to go ahead and put a big emphasis on the lake this year. And we'll probably sell out. So certainly go ahead and pay attention when tickets get released. Right now, they are working on gathering sponsors. So if you're a business that's out there that would like to go ahead and sponsor the event, the format will be very much a TED Talk style. So we'll have screens in the background. We'll be talking statistics. We're focusing on kind of an inspirational tone, change, and how we can go ahead and do better as a community. Ulix writes, when will Cord and Gate be done? That's a great question. Cord and Gate, a portion of that was delayed and work was stopped on that largely because of a foreclosure action that happened on the developer. I think they ran out of money, or I think that the changing interest rate environment suddenly kind of cut into the funding for that, and they went through a process that delayed some of the construction, unfortunately. We're working with the lender as well as some of the new developer interests in making sure that they can go ahead and get finished as quickly as they possibly can, and that's the most we can do, as they go through that process. But we're going to be going through some economic times that I think are going to be very interesting, where we will have to pay very close attention to some of these developments as they get started, and certainly be helpful as much as humanly possible without hurting the taxpayer. We got to be mindful of that, of course, but we want to help them go ahead and get along and finish out. We don't want a situation a lot like we had about 12 or 14 years ago, where developers went belly up and left some of their offsite improvements half done or not constructed whatsoever. And we did take some of that, some of those lemons and turn them into lemonade. A great example being the Rosetta Canyon Community Park, which was built out. And if anybody remembers what that was before, it was just it was a lot of undeveloped dirt. It was in real bad shape, and I think that now it's a real gem, and that's a credit to our staff. We've got Adriana that writes, Why do most bus stops not have awnings on them? I feel so sad when I drive by and I see people standing in this heat waiting for the bus without any covering. We work with RTA in terms of our busing, and so in order to go ahead and change a bus stop covering, we have to go ahead and essentially prep the pad that that bus stop covering would go on. And sometimes that involves a process of taking the right of way that's necessary in order to go ahead and create that pad. And that can sometimes be a process. As a matter of fact, we're having a hard time getting some of that right of way for Marietta Creek Trail right now, and are going through a pretty onerous process of pretty much taking the land, that we need for that. Um, very often, we have the same issue with other property owners for smaller projects like a bus stop. So we have to go through that one at a time. And when you start talking about taking property, it's a very long legal process and an expensive legal process. So we have to kind of weigh the costs and benefits, and also have the dedicated manpower, so we can go ahead and make that happen. But our goal is over time to make sure that we are able to go ahead and have good bus stops, covered bus stops at every option that we have. The other issue is that sometimes we don't have a fully improved right of way, meaning that the road hasn't been widened, or sidewalks haven't been built because there's a development that's coming that'll probably do that. And so, doing some of the pad work and whatnot is sometimes counterintuitive, because we may anticipate some of the development that's coming to go ahead and do that work. And we don't want to do that for the developer, because, once it's done, you can't recapture that. And so there's a whole game that gets played as far as that goes. But there's a reason why we have a very good budget and a very solid budget. And part of that is because we're very careful about those improvements. Okay, Diego. Ooh. Two questions, Diego. Very nice. Can the city fix the new sign at Corridon Gateway? It looks like it got vandalized. That is private property. We wouldn't fix it, but we can certainly go ahead and start citing the property owner to go ahead and have them fix it. I think they're already on it. It's just they have to order parts and certainly go ahead and get it fixed. It's unfortunate that it was damaged. Can't have nice things. I'm sure they're as disappointed as we are that that it was broken. Jasmine and Joseph. Right. When will there be a safe sidewalk put in on Riverside? It's currently extremely unsafe for pedestrians to walk on the road. So that's a great question. So Riverside Drive is a part of Highway 74. And what that means is that the jurisdiction for Highway 74 is with the state. When you're talking about improvements, road improvements, widenings, adding bike lanes, adding sidewalks, any of that, all of that goes through the state. The city has in the past approached the state and asked basically to go ahead and make some final improvements, especially along stretches where there is no development. And the state has recently, I would say within the past few years, taken a stronger and stronger stance against making those types of widenings. And right now it's at a standstill. The state budget is upside down, I think something like 80 million or $80 billion, one of the two. And so they're really not spending money on improvement projects anywhere that they possibly can. But even before that, as a matter of kind of an environmental standpoint, as a way of going ahead and restricting the ability for people to have convenient travel to and from certain places, especially in commutes and whatnot. They're not improving freeways. They're not widening freeways. They're giving us a hard time about widening interchanges. And so it's just been a challenging environment to work in. I don't expect that to change very quickly. And I really don't expect Riverside Drive to improve or widen anytime in the near future, not because we don't want it to, but just because the state probably isn't going to allow it to happen. And they certainly won't fund it. And that's going to be a big, big bill. That's going to be a very expensive widening. Let's see here. Ursula writes, any hopes for higher education in town? We have a group that is working with some of the area cities, and their goal is to bring a Cal State extension campus out into this area, specifically in Menifee, the Menifee campus for for the Mount San Jacinto campus that's out there. I think they're talking about maybe working with Cal State San Marcos to go ahead and bring an extension campus out as a kind of like a beginning. I do know that there's also an effort that's happening out in the desert too with Cal State, and so I've been able to go ahead and talk with some of my colleagues in different areas of the county, and they tell me a little bit about what they've been going through for over a decade, maybe 2 decades almost, as they've been trying to approach a Cal State and have a whole campus, established, and it just requires a really, really big chunk of land. Uh, their community donated the land, if I remember correctly, and that was a big, big hurdle to overcome. And they still haven't seen that new Cal State campus come to fruition yet. This may be a long effort. I think that the extension campuses are a great start. I know that colleges are starting to kind of feel a pinch in terms of funding. Expansions, aren't happening very, very quickly. But this is one of the fastest growing areas in the entire country. If anyone deserved one, I think we do, and we certainly are working on it. There's a work group that's happening right now, and Lake Elsinore is part of that. As a matter of fact, Councilwoman Johnson sits on that work group, so she's been working really hard on that and providing us updates every so often. So that's good. We've got Love Faith says, yes, when will the new library be completed? I don't know. I don't have the figures on that yet. I know that we had some fencing and some limited grading. Adam, do you have any idea? Maybe you can answer this one.
It's currently in design, and we'll be bringing it back to City Council to kind of look at 2 different design proposals. But it is moving forward. We're very thankful for the $10 million that we got in grant funding for the project. But it is moving down the process. But like anything, it takes some time to build something. But we're putting a lot of energy. We want it to be a marquee library so that we're proud of, and our residents are very proud of it.
Yeah, I mean, if it's kind of like the city hall, we have more control over the city hall. Yeah, and I like that was kind of an 18-month deal after we went ahead and allocated funding for it. And this one does have some, but I'm going to take a stab and say you're probably looking about 2 years, maybe 3 years down the road. But we don't have a defined build out yet because we don't have a final design. So we have some design. I mean, I've seen something.
2 years is pretty much what we've been kind of looking at for the library, but it's we're also looking at the sites around it to make it more of just a library. We want people to be able to go down there, park, and enjoy the area.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Jasmine and Joseph, with the expanded Lake Road off. Well, when will they expand Lake Road off of 15 Freeway with the new expansion from Albert Hill Road? That one was hard to understand, but I'll just tell you what's happening along Lake Street and Nichols Road right now. We are the developer that is doing the expansion is currently waiting for Southern California Edison to approve the power line movement, the final alignment for that. And as soon as they get that, they're supposed to have that wrapped up in maybe the next year. And they've actually promised that they're going to have it wrapped up in the next year. But I think that largely depends on Southern California Edison. We're working on it. As far as the rest of Lake Street or the rest of Nichols Road, for that matter, a lot of that improvement will happen in line with development. So, there's Albert Hill Ranch. There'll be some commercial development that's happening on that corner over in the Albert Hill Ridge area. And then we have something that's potentially coming from the developer on Albert Hill Villages right now, where they're looking to go ahead and change some of the zoning. I don't have a final picture or even a preliminary picture of what that looks like yet. But they've asked questions. We've provided some feedback, and we'll see if maybe some of that spurs some of the development that we're looking for to go ahead and get those final widenings and improvements that I think everybody's looking for. I think everybody's looking for at least 4 lanes, all the way down to Lake Street. And the reality is that most of that backbone infrastructure, that arterial roadways, is the responsibility of the development community as they improve that area. So it's coming, but it'll be timed, and it doesn't really tell you exactly when it'll be timed, but it's coming. I think it's coming sooner than we think. What other restaurants or retail stores are going next to the new In-N-Out restaurant? What other retail stores are going in next to the new In-N-Out restaurant? There's a commercial spot that's on the frontage of that. There hasn't been any announcements that I know of on that yet. Adam, have you heard anything? I haven't heard anything.
Nothing yet, no.
Yeah, they're kind of like going through some design review right now and still kind of moving forward, but it's been kind of a slow process ever since the original council approval. And because they're a big corporate entity, they're not as friendly. I think they haven't been calling and hey, this is what we're thinking. So I don't have an answer for you on that. But if we do get some information, we'll definitely push that out. What do we got? Fireworks. Some of our city's communities can safely use out of fire zone. Can permits be purchased like the Storm Stadium? So probably not, but yeah, you can't. I know you can, but there's some very, very strict standards with respect to fireworks shows. Go ahead.
Yeah, all of our fireworks shows are all commercially done. In addition to that, it's months in the planning, and our fire marshal is, back and forth 100 times with each company to making sure they've got the necessary permits and backup plans. There's a radius. I believe it's 500 feet around the site. So there's a lot that goes into fireworks. It's not something that the average citizen is able to do.
Right. Okay. So, little story. I had my wedding reception. This is 25 years ago. Okay. Had my wedding reception at the Storm, at the Diamond Stadium where the Storm play. And we were one of the first receptions ever. This is back in 1999. And one of the what I was trying to do as a surprise was to get a fireworks show to happen like they normally do, like on Fridays or whatever. Wanted to get a fireworks show, for the event, and yeah, they wanted $10,000 to do that fireworks show back in 1999. So yeah, I don't know if that's going to fly or if it's going to be. I know our fireworks show costs about $50,000. It's not cheap, right? But and the prices aren't exactly going down. So yeah, good luck. But you can apply. I think the answer is yes, kind of, but not easily. Let's see here. What are they building on Central near the Walmart? Yes. So that is going to be. They've announced a Stater Brothers, but obviously we approve buildings. We don't approve tenants. So it was going to be a Sprouts. Now it's supposed to be a Stater Brothers. There's going to be a car wash and a gas station. I know everybody loves car washes and gas stations. There's going to be a car wash and a gas station. I know. Cover your ears. And then there's also going to be one drive-through restaurant too. The drive-through restaurant, I'm not familiar with the tenant that's going in there. I've been told that it was one thing, but I heard it might be something else now. So I think all of that's in flux right now. So what's happening is the developer's doing all the off-site improvements and the frontages and kind of grading and whatnot, and they're probably nailing all that stuff down as they're building out. So they're going through the process. Not really a marquee. You're not going to see a groundbreaking or what I mean. They might do a ribbon cutting, but for right now, it's just another development as far as I'm concerned. Any thoughts on resources for where to get information on requirements to purchase and place mobile home on new land for residential development, single family residence requirements, specifically mobile homes? You can get that down at our planning department. You can talk with them about it. I know that there's one major manufactured home builder in the area that will not do business in Elsinore. I've talked to the guy directly, just not interested. Apparently, the engineering standards, we do plan check for engineering standards for manufactured homes, the same as we would do for a single-family residence. Other places, I think just the county, because other cities have the same standards we do, but other places like the county will rely on the state's, I guess, pre-approved engineering standards. This is the way it was described to me. And the bottom line is that there's some places that just won't do business in here because they don't want to go through the plan check process. And God bless them, they don't have to. So I think it's just a matter of going ahead and finding a manufacturing home dealer that will do business in Lake Elsinore. We don't make official recommendation lists for anybody. That you're kind of on your own to go ahead and find that for yourself. Any ideas yet as to what they will be building on the empty lots near Launch Point? There was an approved project to put a 7-Eleven with a big gas station and a McDonald's and whatnot over across the way from the entrance of Launch Point. That I heard is stalled. I don't know if it's still going to go through or if it's going to be redesigned into something else. Not positive. There's the empty lot that if you're looking at Launch Point to the right of Launch Point, the city owns that. But developing it's difficult because we have to be held to the same state standards as anybody else. And so you have flood control, you have fish and wildlife, you have the State Highway 74. So we would have to do widening and improvements and frontage improvements, and that would make all of that difficult for us to develop. So we're looking at a couple of different things. We have some ideas. There's some folks that are proposing some things around the city that could improve. We could see, I don't know. We've talked about all sorts of stuff there. Extending the campground. We've talked about like a small water park there. Or, like there's all sorts of ideas that have been thrown around, but nothing serious yet, quite frankly. And then down the way, you have Coyote Cove, which I think is under new ownership, and they're currently right now going through a process kind of cleaning that up and making it a better thing. And they're also talking about coming to the city and some sort of redesign for it into an RV park or more substantial RV park. But again, there's multiple agencies to work through. So stay tuned for that. Let's see here. What is the process of purchasing land off of Mission Trail? Contact a realtor. Have money. Open an escrow, find an owner that's willing to sell, and give them cash. I mean, there's no city process for purchasing. City does not control that. That's a free market thing. I noticed the shopping center parking lots are very dirty. Riverside Drive. Any cleaning crews that can go out to clean? No, the city doesn't do maintenance. That would be like asking, will the city come in and vacuum my house? The answer is no. Every private property owner is responsible for cleaning up their own areas. I think that if you're a dissatisfied customer, it would do well for you to go ahead and make mention to the tenants that are on site and say, hey man, clean this stuff up, man, or otherwise you're going to lose my business. And I think that might resonate well enough to kind of move up the chain and whatnot. There's some minimum standards, obviously. If there's, outstanding trash or, something that poses some sort of public safety risk or something, then obviously we're going to go in and help. But we're not going to send in street sweepers to go ahead and clean up a parking lot or whatnot. I will say that for any business owners that are listening, if you're having problems with things like transient issues, that you can file a 602 letter with the Sheriff's Department, and the Sheriff's Department can get out there to go ahead and help a lot with a lot of those issues. Will there be a restaurant on the Corridon Gateway? Remains to be seen. We did approve the project with a drive-through restaurant on site. Sometimes projects start and sometimes they don't finish, and so it's going to be up to the developer to get it done. But I think it'll get there. I think they'll eventually go ahead and put something there. Tenant has not been announced, so I don't have information on that, and I think that whole project is very tentative. It's going to be probably a slower build as a new owner comes on board and then basically inserts their vision and their connections, their contacts into the project. Let's see here. We've got any future plans for train or light rail service from Elsinore East going to Palm Springs, west towards San Gabriel Valley, south towards San Diego? I'm new to Lake Elsinore and simply want to be aware. I'm not aware of anything. anything? Do you? I know something from Paris is happening to.
Nothing with light rail, but the five cities down here, Temecula, Marietta, ourselves, Menifee, we are meeting monthly. The mayor from Marietta has started a working group to look at the corridor and
Yeah.
see how we can improve and work together. And part of that was, 10 years ago, the city of Temecula kind of spearheading the improvements that we're seeing right now. And so we are working together with our partners and looking at different ideas. Like you mentioned before, it's very hard working on state routes. And Caltrans has, basically a policy that they will not widen or add capacity to any freeways. And it's unfortunate for our area that keeps expanding.
Yeah.
But other areas, are status quo, but we're the community that really needs it.
Yeah, I made mention. I actually had lunch with Fiona Ma, who is our treasurer, and talked a little bit about that. How the one size fits all policies statewide are usually problematic, especially for a rapidly growing area. So, yeah, we're working through that. Different administrations have different leanings, so time may fix that problem. Will there be, Jasmine and Joseph, right again, will there be any investments on possibly having our own police department as opposed to having sheriffs watch over our city? I don't think so. And, the city used to have its own citywide police force, and then we moved over to the sheriff's department, and there was like a little bit of talk about, what was going on. We saw Menifee go ahead and switch over to their own sheriff's department. We've been kind of watching that a little bit, and that hasn't been like a rip-roaring success. And I will say this, and I'm one of probably the strongest, at one point in time, I was one of the strongest critics, and wanted to go ahead and take a good look at this at least. But I will say this, the Sheriff's Department under Chad Bianco has been very responsive to our needs. They have continuously improved and raised the bar on their efforts throughout the city. We've increased funding for a variety of different systems. We now have a homeless outreach team. We have an improved SET team. We have more motorcycle officers that are out now than there were 12 years ago. The cost increases have been managed pretty darn well. They have improved with the flock cameras, and right now, I think over the next couple of years especially, you're going to see the overall FBI crime statistics for this area improve in a way where we're going to start being talked about one of the more improved cities as far as crime goes, at least within the city. And I don't know, I think some people, anecdotally, they go ahead and see what's reported on social media, and it's funny because, before social media was a big thing, we kind of knew that the crime was worse. In some respects, you just didn't see it. But credit to social media, it helps people get the word out. I would say that it's been improving, and it's still improving, and it's getting better. And if it ever changes, then yeah, maybe we can go ahead and look at a shift. I just don't see the reasoning behind that. I really don't. Sheriff's Department's been great. They're happy to provide the service. We have a great relationship. I think we're going to continue having that relationship for a real long time. So, Diego writes, what happened to the trail that was going to connect Lake Elsinore to Wildemar that was announced a few years back? Funny you mentioned that. We're actually going through a legal process to go ahead and acquire the right-of-way to go ahead and complete that trail as it's fully funded, and we're working to go ahead and get that established. And I would say probably, depending how much time it takes and depending on how much some of these property owners fight to go ahead and give up the little strip of land that we need for the trail, that could happen as soon as this next year, could take a couple of years. It just depends. It's going to be probably over the process that goes through the courts and any type of mediation that we go through as far as that goes. Karen writes, what's new going on at our Levee Trail? We love walking there often with Leave No Woman Behind. Very cool, very cool. We got a couple of new things that have happened there. You want to take that question?
Yep, I'll jump in.
I've been talking for a while.
No problem. Public Works has just been amazing with the Levee Trail lately. They're installing new lighting, new signage. We'll have new bird signage. So we've got a very active bird watching community here in Lake Elsinore, and so we're installing some new signage for them. And then, very exciting, we'll have our first disc golf. So later this month, Public Works and their contractors will be installing disc golf. New trash cans. I think we mentioned that earlier, or someone mentioned it. These trash cans are amazing. They're bear-proof trash cans. So when you put the trash in, it's not going to fly out. And we worked with the contractor, really have nice graphics. So a lot is going on with the levee and the lake as well. We have our contractor that's maintaining the shoreline on the levee now. So the levee is going to look amazing. We also moved over one of our portable fishing docks. So now you can go fish off the levee.
Oh, very cool. All right, I'm going to try to go lightning round because we're trying to wrap up here in a little bit. And then I got a little something for the end here. But so here we go. Why are development fees so much higher than surrounding cities? Hi, Laura. For example, water connection fee was $26K and $4K to get EVM WD to install the water line level. There's a variety of explanations for that, including the rapid increase in costs to go ahead and do business for the water district. They also have had a number of new regulatory guidelines applied to them and standards that they have to go ahead and meet. They're building out a $220 million new reclamation facility and expansion and whatnot. And so, as the state puts more and more standards on water districts to go ahead and provide, a different type of water, screening out microplastics and things of all the new things that are coming up. These are new costs that end up getting passed along to ratepayers and to the development community as they come in. So we're not the water district, by the way. I'm just explaining to you on behalf of the water district. Is there a better way to go about doing it? Yeah, potentially. But I'm not on the water board, so I really can't get into all of that, and I don't know the details. Thank you. What else we got? What's going on with the Staples store that closed? That was bought up by Costco. They're probably going to turn it into extended gas stations. More on that in the future. What's going on with our levee trail? Oh, no, we got that one already. We need a Trader Joe's. We hear you. We're working on it. Let's see here. What about putting any investments on? Let's see here. Police department, we got that one taken care of. Costco is adding a gas station. Good job, Graham. Let's see here. Graham could run. I think he's in the county, though.
There's one on Instagram. When are they going to renovate the theater here in?
That's funny. We actually approached the operator for the theater and kind of said, hey, it's been a while, and I think we got some positive response on that. So, yes, yeah, the theater may be looking at a renovation. Theaters in general have taken a beating since COVID, and so there may be a monetization issue for the near future. But, basically what we said is, either go ahead and renovate the facility so that, it meets today's standards, or we're going to try to recruit somebody to go ahead and go somewhere else, and, they'll put you out of business. And I think that was responsive, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to finish. Thank you so much, Adam, for joining us. I genuinely appreciate your wisdom and your efforts, and I think the people of Lake Elsinore owe you a debt of gratitude for the work that you're doing, especially as it relates to the lake. I think that's you're earning angel wings right now, so doing good deeds, sir. I do want to go ahead and make comment on the events of this last weekend, and I really haven't put. This is my own personal. I'm not speaking on behalf of the city. I'm not speaking on behalf of my colleagues. This is just me talking. And we had a real near miss with President Trump over the weekend, or former President Trump over the weekend. And the temperature of the country is in a place that is kind of shocking. I think this is one of those. Where were you when you heard the news types of stories that people are going to remember for the rest of your life? And I was at a friend's house, and I have friends of all different shapes, colors, backgrounds, political leanings, and I was over at a friend's house, and the response was kind of, wow, that was close, darn it, sort of thing. And it was a joking thing that was said, but I was shocked. I was just, I was almost tearful. kind of hearing that. And, at first I was kind of shocked to hear that. And I seen a lot of stuff online and on social media and conspiracies and even mainstream news media giving bad information. The rush to go ahead and get information out to the public has undermined the ability to get out real good information. Journalism's in a real bad state right now. And then the social media is making it even worse. We have echo chambers that are being created by algorithms. I gotta say, I can't even get angry with my friend for feeling the way that she did and for her expression that she did, because we have some language that's out there today that truly just dehumanizes political rivals. And this isn't just the presidential race. This is just everything, This is like a game, And that's problematic. That's problematic as we continue to, these are real people. These are real human beings. We have to do better as a community. It's not just an us versus them sort of thing. When we talk about things like a threat to democracy, or we talk about, how this person's going to go ahead and insert communism, and so some of these huge, overreaching, overarching themes that just make these people caricatures as opposed to human beings, that's a problem. That's a real problem. We're all Americans, all of us. We can have a difference of opinion and certainly go ahead and look at each other at the end of the day and say, hey, you know what? You have a great idea. I disagree with you. That's okay. And I think we need each other. I really do. I think people on the left and the right, we're just like a couple, right? Like a married couple. And normally in really well-functioning married couples, you have one that's conservative and they, well, we got to watch the pocketbook. We got to go ahead and make sure that we're doing things. We're not going to lose the house over it. And then we got somebody on the other side that's like, well, let's take vacations and let's build this and we can do even better. And you need both. You need both of it. And sometimes there's periods where you need one type of leadership versus another type of leadership. And then things change and it goes the other direction. And that's okay. But we're just in a time period where, it's disappointing to see people disappointed that a really bad thing didn't happen. And that's problematic. So I would call upon the people of Lake Elsinore and the people of this country to come together. I really do appreciate that the former president didn't use it as an opportunity to incite his followers to do really bad things. And I think that it's great that our current president said some words that denounced the actions outright. We need to take it down a notch. We really, really do. And so I'm proud of both of them in the way that they've conducted themselves in the aftermath, and I hope that that continues that way. But it is going to be an election year, so everybody hold on tight. In the meantime, we're going to continue going ahead and providing great service, great transparency, and a very unified message right here in Lake Elsinore. I want to thank all of you for joining us tonight, and we will see you next time.